All right, it's 5:01. We're going to get started. Welcome to City Council. We have a full house, and welcome everyone that has come and joined us. On Zoom, we have Sharon Shores with the Universal Life Church Ministries to give us our invocation.
Recording in progress.
Where'd she go?
Can she hear us now? I see that. Can she hear us now?
Sharon, can you hear us now? Sharon, can you hear us now?
Hello?
We can hear you. Can you hear us? No.
Okay, has she called for prayer yet?
Yes. Okay.
All right. Sorry, folks, there must be some technical difficulties. This is Sharon Shores. I'm a minister here in St. George. So let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give thanks for our elected officials and all who serve in our community. We give thanks for our great country. We pray for peace for all, not just in our country, but all throughout the world. We know that in our hearts we plan our course of our days, but we pray that you establish our steps and the steps of our elected officials in our community, elected officials in our country, and elected officials throughout the world. We pray that all seek you for advice and guidance, and that all involved citizens and leaders listen with understanding and goodwill and speak with clarity and respect. We ask that all see the humanity and the dignity of those who may disagree, and to treat all persons with the reverence of your creation. We pray that decisions be based upon both what is known and upon your guidance and wisdom for the greatest good of our community. Guide our leaders. We place this meeting and all meetings in your hands. We place our hearts and our mind in your hands, as well as the hearts and minds of our leaders and all the citizens throughout our community, that you may direct us all. And finally, Father, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of the human person. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And we want to thank Sharon, even though she probably can't hear us. Christine, if you'll message her and tell her thank you. And Councilman Smethurst is going to lead us in the pledge.
Please stand. Follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
So we just have one pre-agenda item before we get to our agenda, and that is Kai Norfelt with the Southern Utah Bicycle Alliance. So Kai, if you want to come forward and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. My name is Kai Nordfeldt, and I'm the president of the Southern Utah Bicycle Alliance. And we want to come here today to start off with and just thank you. Thank you for supporting. We want to thank you for Main Street, the buffered bike lane there, particularly from 7th South down to Bluff. We want to thank you for the 4th East bike lane that was just installed today. We really appreciate that, and we want to encourage you to continue down that road. That's exactly what we'd like to see you do. We do hear that there are occasionally people that come in and, will have, naysayers when it comes to this kind of infrastructure, right? So what we want to do is show you the people that support it.
Thank you, Phil.
We want to show you the people that do care about this kind of infrastructure. And we got your back. As you support and build this infrastructure, we're going to be behind you. We're going to help you, and we're going to show that there is support for this. And this is the way the community wants these roads to be built, and the way for the future. So, just wanted to mention a couple things, if I could, real quick here. Along with that, thank you, is to kind kind of show a little bit of who these roads benefit. Sometimes we may have in our mind kind of a preconceived idea that that a road that has a bike lane might benefit the athlete, right? The cyclist that comes in for Ironman, and it does. It brings in all kinds of tourism dollars and great stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, it's your grandchildren, it's your children, it's them getting to and from school, it's people riding to go to work, it's my parents who are retired trying to get some exercise on their e-bike. They represent all kinds of people of that same type, as well as my kids here and other kids here as well. You can see that's really what these roads are built for. Is that. Wanted to mention a few things here. I guess first off, if you did come, if it's okay, Mayor, can I just have them stand up? They won't clap. But can you stand up if you're here to support cycling in the community here? All right, that's a good group. Thank you. We have on here, as part of it is, we have representatives from Intermountain Healthcare. We have representatives here from Get Outside program that serves our students in the high schools. We have representatives from the Washington County School District that are here in support of this for safe routes to school. We have representatives from the local bicycle companies, Bicycles Unlimited, Red Rock Bicycle. We have representatives from the business community as well. For example, those up on Tech Ridge, Busy. And also the Southern Utah Home Builders Association, who is in support of the things that we're advocating for here or we'll talk about. So we appreciate those that have come. We also have the Red Rock Center for Independence. That's one that's awesome too, is we have our good folks here of all abilities. These streets right here are designed for their abilities too. One of the things I love out of the active transportation plan is the vision that's there. And the vision says St. George will be a place where residents and visitors of all ages and abilities can walk or ride a bicycle for transportation and recreation. I love that, all ages, all abilities. Is pretty awesome. I'm sure I probably neglected to mention some others. The Healthy Dixie Council is in support of this. The Southern Utah Bicycle Alliance. I guess over and over again, thousands of people here in the community are supportive of what you're doing to build these streets and make them bicycle friendly. So real quickly, to kind of give you just a quick perspective on bicycle lane, the road, and what a bicycle lane means to someone who bicycles or is trying to, or sidewalks for the benefit of people of all abilities is, it kind of reminds me when I was in high school. I shared this example with some people, right? There was this end of year school party, and I really wanted to go to it. Like, it was cool. It was where all the cool kids would be, right? And I wanted to go to it, but I wasn't invited. And so my friend, he was going, and so he got me invited. But I got to the party, and I realized pretty quickly that I really wasn't invited to be there. Like, just the way I was treated, it was clear I wasn't really invited to the party, right? I just got myself invited. How does this deal with streets? Well, each street sends a message. There's an invitation or there's not an invitation. There's an invitation to drive a car, or there's an invitation to ride a bike, or there's both. And that's what we love about giving space on the street, is it gives specific space for people to ride and encourages people of all ages and abilities to do that. And so, for example, the buffered bike lane on Main, down there on the south part, that invites people to be part of the street. And so that's pretty awesome. That's why we really appreciate that. So, in conclusion, I know I only had a couple minutes. I just wanted to show you your support and an invitation that we have for you is we do hope that you'll continue with buffered bike lanes. Buffered bike lanes, of course, are give us additional space to ride. Also, the sidewalks, continue to build great sidewalks for people of all abilities. And we also would like to invite you as a group to approve the complete street policy you've considered before the end of this year, before 2021 ends. As a group, we'd like to invite the council to take that up and to finalize that approval and get that in place. And one other thing we did want to thank you for is also the hiring of your active transportation coordinator. It shows a real significant commitment by the city to take active transportation serious. We're looking forward to having that person on, but we're glad to work with the engineers and the planners and the good work that they do. And so thank you again, and hope you'll take our recommendations. I emailed them to you as well, so you'd have a copy of those recommendations in your email. But thank you very much.
Kai, I just want to say, go ahead. I know you're passionate about this, and I only received one negative comment on the Main Street bike lanes, and I received dozens of thank yous on the Main Street bike lanes, so I don't know if it was all your people in this room or not. I'm not an avid biker, don't shoot me, but I have noticed since the invention of the e-bike, my neighbors of all ages, they're out on the trails now like crazy. We have a trail around our park. We have one of the biggest neighborhood parks in Bloomington Hills, and you can't go to the park without seeing people out on their bikes, probably experiencing the trails for the first time now because of the e-bike, and they can take a break when they want. So we did pass the active transportation plan in 2017, and part of that was the Main Street bike lane. And so we're finally getting around to it. We're a little slow. You know how the government works. Snail pace. But we appreciate you all coming. We appreciate hearing positive feedback. So that's what I wanted to say. Council, do you have anything you want to add? I can't imagine that Danielle would want to add anything.
You know I'm going to want to say something. I mean, I might stand on this soapbox every once in a while. Mayor, it's funny because we get so many emails about traffic, right? And the one thing that Kai didn't mention, he did a really great job sharing the benefits. But, every time somebody says to me, I hate the traffic, my response to them is, you are the traffic. So every single one of us that's in our cars driving, when we're frustrated with traffic, we are the traffic. And so, as we know, it's not even possible financially, physically, for us to build enough roads for there not to be traffic with the way our city's structured, with our geology and our highway through the middle and our rivers and our mountains and all these things. So all of this infrastructure really helps us, gives us opportunities to use different forms of transportation. So I, along with all of these people, a lot of whom I love and know, applaud the city for moving forward with alternative forms of transportation. And thanks everyone for coming tonight. We really appreciate you being so supportive of the city and helping us to understand why this really matters.
Does anyone in this room own more bikes than Danielle? I'm just curious. I think she built a few of you. Well, that's great. Kai, thank you. Any other comments?
Mayor, I just have one, and that is I noticed that Kai said you guys had e-bikes. I know he pulled you out of that. I have an e-bike, and so does my wife. So don't be dissing on the e-bikers of us. Some of us, for our exercise, need a little help to get us out there. So I'm with you.
It's good for old people, Sean. But Kai, thank you for acknowledging that we do receive, I received several complaints on that. It's hard to see things change. And when you're just a motorist and you're not a bicyclist, you see that as an inconvenience. So thank you for acknowledging that. I see it as one of those things, like a lot of the things we do here, not everybody enjoys the same sort of thing. So we try to do a little bit of everything so that everybody has something. So while we may not get all the bike lanes that you would like to see, we are working on that. And please know we have another group of people that are saying, and I think you acknowledge that are saying, hey, what in the I'll keep it clean world are you thinking? So thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you for what you do.
So we can now go to our agenda, and I need to excuse our city manager and any of you who want to. If you don't want to stay with us for a whole meeting, I can't imagine why you wouldn't. But our city manager is online on Zoom watching. He's at a conference in Salt Lake, so we are going to excuse him. And we'll wait for the room to clear out for a second before we start. Very, very true. So tonight is kind of an unusual night for us. Mr. Guzman will no longer be spending Thursday nights with us, and he is not going to know what to do with themselves on Thursday nights. Yeah, e-bike. He and Suzanne can get out on their e-bikes. Sean, how long have you been sitting up here?
19 years, Mayor. 19 years this month.
Wow.
The 10th is actually my 19th year.
So Sean is going to, he's staying with the city, but he's in a different role now as governmental affairs, which is kind of our lobbyist. We need him. With everything happening with the state legislature every year, we need people to lobby for the city of St. George. Noah, you can come in. I see you peeking around the corner. So Sean will be moving into that role, and we have hired a new city attorney, and I'll get to that in a minute. But Sean, is there any, since your beautiful family's here, is there anything you want to say?
Yes, there is, Mayor. You know that a long time ago someone told me be careful about thanking people in public because you always forget someone. And so, but there are so many people I want to thank. So I guess, first of all, I want to thank a great staff. And the legal department staff is here. Would you guys stand up that are here? We've got our newest attorney, Colin, who just started with us. Robert Cosen, who is the best prosecutor in the state of Utah. And Paula Houston, who will be retiring on the 19th. But Paula and I have been together for 17 years. And she has been a great friend and a great deputy city attorney and a great advocate for the city. And then Annette Johnson, who's been with me the entire time. She predates me. And Annette does a fantastic job with our claims and has been a great team player all these years and a great asset for the department and the city. And I've only been with Suzanne longer than I've been with Annette. So, and you guys are the best. We, as a legal department, they take care of so much and do so much, and it's kind of one of those behind the scenes jobs. If you remember those old commercials for BASF that makes all the chemicals and other things, they say we don't make the this is how old it was, the cassette tape. We make it better. We don't make the jet engine. We make it better. Well, these are the guys. This is the team that makes the city better because they take care of all of the things behind the scenes and run interference for us. And I just want to thank them for everything that they've done and all of those that have come before them because we've been a great training ground for attorneys that have gone on to do great things because we have such a great department, and it's because of them, certainly. And we have the legal assistants who aren't here, and they do a fantastic job as well. Matt Miller, another prosecutor, is not with us here, but he as well. So I just want to thank them. And then
yes, we will.
They do deserve it. And then I want to thank all of you and all of the elected officials that have come before you. It has been a joy and a privilege to be up here and work with you all, and know that we've had elected officials that the number one goal is their only agenda has been to do the right thing for the city, and that is unusual for a city. It really is. That all of your elected officials feel that way, and that's certainly a tribute to you. And all the department heads that I've had the privilege of working with that are here, and those in the past that I've worked with, the best in the state. And right now we have the best executive team in the state. I am proud of all of them and support all of them 100%. If I could just call out a couple, Robert Stoker's he's the one of the originals that was still left of us that were here when I got here.
He's elk hunting, by the way.
Yes, he's doing the important things, I know, but I thank Robert. I thank all, by the way, the police department have been a joy to work with all these years. We have the best police department in the state. best trained and most responsible police department, and have always been proud of them. Now I got to go through all the departments, because water services, energy services, public works, our leisure services, we have just outstanding people, really outstanding people. Sometimes it's hard to recognize how good you have it unless you've been out there and worked with in other places and with others, and then you see. Now I'm going to make the mistake of calling out a couple. And so the first advice, and one of the best advice I ever got on my first meeting up here sitting in this very chair, was from Mark Mortensen, who came up to me during the meeting and leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Don't back up anymore, you're about to fall off the stage." And that's when I realized that there is a step here, so I better be careful. So Mark actually stopped me from making my first big mistake, and that probably happened the next day that I made my first big mistake. And then Deanna, we have worked together all these years, and we've had some difficult projects that we've spent some late nights, and I can tell you there have been some 9 o'clock at night nights where we were back and forth to each other's office on projects going, what are we going to do? Is this ever going to be done? Can we figure this out? And somehow we have, and I appreciate the fact that you're still here, and Mark too, to hang out with, and I'll look forward to working with both of you. And then last, I have to thank my family, because Isabel right here, raise your hand, Isa. She's 22. Are you 22? So you can imagine what she was like when we moved here. She was just a little baby, and Noah, I know you're here, and Sarah and Wyatt and Trevor here and his wife, and my 3 grandkids, and I've got 3/4 of a grandchild sitting right there next to Noah with his wife Sarah. My little grandson right here on the end, my youngest was like that when I started this. And Suzanne, I apologize for all the late nights and that I wasn't home, and then the calls where it would be like, don't you have a phone? Can't you text me? Can't you tell me where you're at or how long the meeting's going to be? But we had many nights where we went to 11 o'clock and even midnight during the busy times here, and they were long nights, and I feel like I missed out on a lot, and so I owe that to Suzanne for taking care of things when I was gone, and then the fact that she loves this city as much as I do. I can tell you, when I was walking in this morning and thinking about this being my last night, and I'm sorry I'm taking so long, but 19 years, I get 19 years to talk. So, and the first day walking in here, people told me when I wanted to move down here, and they said, you're crazy, you're taking a cut in pay, and you're going down, picking up your family, and I said, I love it down there, and there were some special people in Washington County, Eric Ludlow, Dean Cox, Erdley, Commissioner Erdley. There was a bunch that said, we got to get you down here. And I can remember walking into that building, that door, and feeling like I'm at home. This is my home. And to this day, when the plane lands in St. George, or we're pulling in from wherever we are in this world, this is a home. I love this, so I feel like I've got red sand in my shoes too. So Suzanne, thank you, and I love you guys. I love all you guys, and thank you for putting up with all the long nights and all the dinners and things you had to go to, and events, some of which the mayor's responsible for. And then, can I just say to Pat Needy was the Human Resources Director that kept after me and told me that it would be a great deal to come down here for less money and less vacation, and convinced me to do it. And she passed away recently, and Mark and I had the privilege of speaking at her funeral. But Pat, I love you, and thank you for changing my life. And last, I'd like to say to Gary Esplin and Dan MacArthur, who took a chance on someone that had very little experience and not very long out of law school, and putting me in this job and saying, get to it, do whatever you need to do. We have confidence in you, and I hope I haven't let them down.
Well said, Sean. And go ahead. I happened to run into Gary last night. His granddaughter was playing my granddaughter in basketball. You know how competitive Gary is. My granddaughter's team won. And he's like, what's Guzman doing now? So, you know, this is your final farewell on a Thursday night, and you will miss us terribly, I know. But you're still going to be walking through that door. You promised me you'd stay here with me, so I'm not going to let you break that promise. And so this isn't, you know, farewell. It's just see you around the building, just not on Thursday night. You can find a great Netflix series to watch on Thursday nights. And Gary said to tell you, congrats, and he is still living in a van down by the river, he said. He's homeless right now. I feel really sorry for him. So anyway. So Sean, you want to lead us through our agenda since Adam's gone and give you one final hurrah?
Yes, I would be glad to, Mayor. So the first item on the agenda is to appoint Tawny Pack Downing as the new city attorney. Now, I just turned over the microphone, but I will tell you this. Tawny is fantastic, and we are lucky to have her. And I shamelessly and relentlessly pursued her, and she went to work for John Dougal. And if you know Auditor Dougal, I will say this on the record, I unplugged his electric vehicle twice at the Capitol when after he stole her, just to get even. So, John, if your car did not charge that day, I think I know who did it. But somehow we were able to lure her back. And she has her resume is unparalleled, and but I don't want to be the one to talk about that. I will let Mayor, you and Tawny talk about Tawny's qualifications and abilities to do this job, which she'll do a great job. It has my full support.
Well, we were all very impressed with Tawny, and I knew of Tawny, but I knew her husband, and so I figured she must be an awesome woman to be married to him.
You got to raise your hand, Carl.
You know,
yeah, come on, raise your hand.
Carl's
so
a great
see.
guy, and we're happy to have him here with us. But Tawny has 26 years of legal and executive level experience as general counsel and department chief of staff for the governor, general counsel for a state agency, and associate general counsel for the legislature. And so she's coming in with a ton of leadership experience, and we're so happy to have her and welcome her to our team. And is there anything you want to say, Tawny, before we make this official?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I'm still a little choked up about Sean and his speech, but I feel so honored to be here and entrusted with this position, and I will do my best. So thank you very much.
With that, council, I need a motion to appoint Tawny Pack Downing as our new city attorney.
So moved, Mayor.
I'll second.
Motion by Danielle, seconded by Greg. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Tawny. So we are moving real quick. Sean, I'm just going to jump in front of you real quick. We are moving item 15 next, so that those people that are here don't have to sit through the whole agenda. But we need to appoint some new members to our Arts Commission. And so we gave you, Christina printed this out for you because some of them, I'm going to read the new ones and then read the existing ones because there are terms and some of this was all convoluted and Christina got it all figured out for me today. So, our new Arts Commission chair, I'm asking that you appoint Carmen Wilson for a 3-year term. And then on the Arts Commission, and if any of you are here and you want to stand so they can see you, if you're not, that's okay. Emily Ray for a 3-year term, Glenn Webb for a 3-year term, Adam Mast for a 3-year term, and Tabitha Nygaard for a 3-year term. And then already on the Arts Commission is John Kessler, Sherilyn Davis, Jane Anderson, Steve Brow, and Chewy Lockhart, Barry Scarf. I think I got everyone. So with that, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mayor, that we appoint, do you want me to read them off or just say, okay. We appoint the Art Commission as presented.
Second.
Motion by Danielle, seconded by Vardell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. You're opposed?
Well, we never formally had Steve Brown in, so, sorry. So I don't know if we want to, sorry.
So we just need to appoint, we need to just
Yes.
amend,
We
I'll
just
I'll
need to
amend the
amend it.
motion and appoint Steve Roth.
Christina and I realized that he had never been, just because he's our art
Okay.
museum liaison, and so now that doesn't fall under the city council now, he doesn't automatically go. So if we can just add him to the list, that'd be
Yes.
great. Thank you.
Thanks,
She will
Michelle.
amend that motion.
Yep, I'll amend the motion to
Second.
add Steve Roth.
All right. And everyone's good with that? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right. You raised your hand. I'm like, you're opposed to this? You presented the list. How can you be opposed to this? And thank you for those that have accepted to serve on the Arts Commission. It's an important board, and we're happy to have you. All right. I lost Sean. So, council.
Yeah.
He must have. Yeah, they're watching Netflix.
Can't get out of here fast enough.
So have you all read over the consent calendar? Is there anything there that you have questions on or want to remove? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
Motion. Go ahead. You have a question? Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, seconded by Brian. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, Shane Moore. You want to present this one?
Hi, Mayor Council. So what we're proposing is an amendment to our fee schedule, and we would like to propose a resident rate for our baseball and softball fields. It's something we overlooked when we had our fee schedule in the last little while. So basically, it halves the amount of what our wintertime or our peak season rate is for our local residents if they want to rent the fields.
Thanks for doing that, Shane.
And we had a work meeting on this. Are there any questions for Shane on these fee schedules?
Are there schedules also for renting the fields for practice? And if so, are those fees half of what it would normally be for someone else?
Yeah, there's a resident rate for the practice as well.
Good, thank you.
Does this, Shane, does this go along with the soccer as well that we?
This amendment is just for the baseball and softball.
Okay.
If there's no other questions, I'm ready for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve an ordinance amending and adopting fees for various services and recreational activities as
Second.
defined in our packets. Thank you.
Motion by Vardell, seconded by Brian. All in favor. This needs a roll call vote, starting with Vardell.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. I failed to mention, well, Sean, you failed to mention, you're supposed to be leading this meeting. Items number 11 and 12 are being removed. They will be back on another agenda. And then we are moving item number 14 right after item number 7. So, all right. Carol.
And this is item number 3, to
Yes.
table approval
Yeah.
of the ordinance
Yeah,
amending
so-
Atkinsville Interchange Area Commercial Zone.
Right. And in this one, the applicant's proposing to table it again. Is that what you want me to say?
Yes, I think they're proposing to table this.
Yeah.
There was some discussion at your work meeting when you were on site
Mm-hmm.
about that specific site, the one to the
Right.
south of.
Good job.
Thank you. Of the site that was approved last time, and it has to do with access and the residents concerned with that.
Yeah, the applicant really wanted to have a little bit more time to speak with the residents out there. So that's why they were proposing to table it till the December 2nd meeting.
And Mayor, I would also say thank you. I think the council would like to extend a thank you to the applicant for meeting with the residents again and talking to them about their concerns.
Yeah, they've been very gracious, so we do want to thank them. So I just need a motion to move that meeting.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we table the approval of the ordinance amending the Atkinsville Interchange Area Commercial Zone for a conceptual site plan elevations and colors and materials to be known as Sun River Patio Furniture. We're going to table that till the
December 2nd.
the December 2nd meeting.
Second.
Motion by Greg, seconded by Danielle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, on item number 4, I saw Dan McKay here just step out. I know that he was running late and wanted to be here to address this. So if he's not in the room here, what I would ask is that we forego item number 4 now and go on to item number 5 until Mr. McKay's in the room.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, well, here he is.
Well, there, speak to the devil.
So break the bad news to him that it didn't pass.
Then yes, they just took out. No. Then I guess we can proceed with item number 4 now that Mr. McKay is here. Item number 4 is consider approval of an ordinance changing the general plan future land use map for low-density residential to medium-density residential on approximately 19.4 acres east of 3000 East Street and north of 1140 South Street to be known as SLR Fields.
Thank you. I think this table needs to be cleaned. It's a little greasy, so the mouse wasn't working. Okay. So I think we're all familiar with this location, but this location is on the east side of 3000 East, north of 1140 South of this property, and this is the development that's coming in north of the new temple that will be coming in on the east side of St. George. And this we're talking about today is just this little middle piece that we did not talk about before when we talked about this a couple weeks ago. So right now it's zoned agricultural, and as I mentioned, it is right on the border of Washington City and Washington County. And the general plan is low-density residential. The applicants did come before you with a project for this area right here, which we allowed them to extend it down, the medium-density residential. But right now, they'd like to extend it more and include this for their project. So that's what we're here today for. We did present this to the Planning Commission. They were in favor of this change from low-density residential to medium-density residential. And if you have any questions, I'm certainly able to answer those.
Questions for Carol?
Yeah, I'll ask the question. So it's just an extension of, do they have the same plan for it as the townhouses and duplexes?
At the time they did not, and I have not seen plans yet. However, something similar is what they were thinking about. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Does the applicant want to say anything?
This feels like an IQ test, Mayor. my tendency is to not say something, but then for you to feel like I didn't want to say something, it's always that catch-22.
You don't have to say anything.
And then asking someone who is a lawyer and a politician whether or not they want to hear themselves talk is also
Oh, yeah, dang, I should have thought about that
really
earlier.
hard to pass up. So I have both of those against me. No, we appreciate council and staff in working with us to answer Mr. MacArthur's question. We don't have a plan for it yet, but in our last meeting when we talked about it, there was some issues brought up about traffic on 3000 East. And so by extending this medium density residential all the way down to 1140, what it does is allow us to have flexibility with that project so that should the boundaries need to shift or change based on the traffic models that we're in the process of doing in our conversations with staff, then we'll have that flexibility where we don't have that flexibility now. But I think, and I'd also say, if that isn't needed, depending on what the model is, our plan is, just very transparently, our plan is to put together a PDR, plan, and basically come up with restrictions, but at the same time, leave this as kind of an 18, 20 acre canvas that will be subject to the city's review for architecture and be subject to the city's review for open space and amenities and all the things that are required for a normal PDR. We've been working with staff a little bit about, can we get an exception to make sure that the entire project has zoning, but leave those stipulations to be further worked out with the city as we try and, I guess, you squeeze a balloon, it has to go one direction or another, and that's kind of the flexibility we're hoping that the city will trust us with.
Is the plan to retain ownership on these as well?
Unknown still.
Okay.
Right now, we have the roughly 300 units that is part of our project now, and the intent is for the project to be roughly that size. And again, trying to figure out how the traffic model works. We want to make sure that we just have that flexibility. And then what happens with this 18 acres, we're hopeful that it's a for sale product as opposed to a for rent product. Just the market has a strong demand for that for sale product out there. And so trying to meet that demand is one thing that we're focused on.
Perfect.
Any other questions for Mr. McKay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Then I'm ready for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve an ordinance changing the general plan future land use map from low-density residential to medium-density residential on approximately 19.4 acres located east of 3000 East Street and north of 1140 South Street to be known as SLR Fields.
I'll second.
Motion by Vardell, seconded by Danielle. All in favor, starting with Danielle.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Motion carries.
Mayor, item number 5 is consider approval of an ordinance changing the general plan from medium-density residential to commercial on approximately 2.89 acres located at 100 South and 100 West to be known as 100 South Library Block.
So here we have the aerial location of, there you can see 100 South and 100 West, 200 West. Just off to the right here, you have the Washington County Library. The zoning for this is RCC, Residential City Center, and the general use is MDR, as was stated. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Questions for Mike? So I did receive a phone call on this, and we also received a letter in opposition to this. They are concerned about the parking for the library and the Children's Museum and want to keep the old homes for residential. So
I can comment on this.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
We were talking about this a little bit earlier today. So this is a general plan amendment. So this just allows, we have that piece that's adjacent to the library that we would like to do something commercially related on. So this is just a general plan to overlay that. Our intention is not, we're not changing the zone tonight. I think we share those same
concerns that what we received in that letter, saying we want to preserve the homes here and preserve that feel on 100 South. We just want to make it so if there are some commercial uses, for example, the city-owned lot adjacent to the library, we want to be able to have the opportunity to do something on that.
Well said.
Yeah. I know it's, to add to what Councilman MacArthur's saying, it can be confusing, the general plan as opposed to zoning. And, I think it's always helpful to remember that the general plan's a bubble. So it's just kind of extending that bubble, and there's no force use, as far as like, there's really technically no effect on the residential homes there, other than like eventually if they wanted to rezone, they would have that option. But it does not remove them in any way from residential use or affect their residential use. So just to help them understand that that won't be affected.
And also point out that the reason why we purchased the Andrews home was actually to save that home. And so we recognize that there are some significant homes on that block. And while I personally would love to save every home downtown, but there are some that are more significant. And so the city stepped up to do that there. And on this particular part of this piece that we had there were some homes on there. Those homes actually were very challenged, let me put it that way, when we bought them. They were not in very good shape. And our goal there was to make sure that whatever went there complemented the town square.
Agreed with all that, although we do need to remember if we're making this change so we can pave the way, like Greg said, if there is a commercial use. I'm still concerned, as I have been in the past, about what we end up doing in some of that other vacant space and parking. We had this discussion during the Jewel Plaza construction, and so as we move forward, I would just caution us to be cognizant of that and make sure we're not. There's been times if you try to park at the library parking lot and by the Children's Museum, you cannot find a place to park. So we don't want to inundate the neighborhoods down there with people parking if we can. So just a word of caution as we move forward.
Any other comments or questions? If not, I'm ready for a motion. This isn't a public hearing.
So when we went to the public hearing, they didn't care what we said, so then they said that we could come to this one or the other.
The public hearing is held at the Planning Commission.
Mayor, there are, with the rezone, as you know, there are not required to be specific plans for a zone. But in this case, the public hearing was at the Planning Commission level to take the input, and then the Planning Commission makes that recommendation to you all. So that's where we are right now with this, at this stage.
Back to you, Council.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve an ordinance changing the general plan from medium density residential to commercial on approximately 2.89 acres located at 100 South, 100 West, to be known as the 100 South Library Block.
Second.
Motion by Danielle, second by Vardell. All in favor, starting with Vardell.
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Mayor, item number 6 is consider approval of an ordinance changing the general plan from open space to low-density residential on approximately 2.18 acres located at 1620 West Traverse Drive, known as Tonoquint Ridge.
Okay. So here you can see an aerial view of it. You see Traverse Ridge here. The current zoning is R110 and MG for mining and grazing. And then you can see the piece here, as mentioned, general plan is open space. And with that, I can answer any questions, or the applicant, I believe, is here.
Question is, So we're bringing it out of open space. Is there a particular reason why it was in open space before, and any reason why we should leave it in open space?
So prior to 2018 here, you can kind of see the general plan. There was a major road that was supposed to go along here, and so they didn't want these lots to front along that. Well, they couldn't have them front along that major road. Since that time, that road's been taken off our major transportation plan, so it's just a neighborhood road. So they just wanted to add that back into this future development.
Any other questions for Mike?
Nope. I'll make a motion to approve the changing of the general plan from open space to low-density residential on approximately 2.1 acres located at 1620 West Traverse Drive, known as Tonoquint Ridge.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Vardell. All in favor, starting with Danielle.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Item number 7 is consider approval of an ordinance amending the Desert Color Planned Development Commercial Zone for 2 condominium buildings to be known as Desert Color Phase 5, lots 514 and 515 on approximately 0.61 acres located between Akoya Pearl Road and Lagoon Parkway, northwest of the Desert Color Clubhouse.
Thank you. I like having Sean do that. That's nice. I don't have to do it. This is a request for 20 additional units. I'll show you the location on the screen here. Just to kind of get your bearings, just down in this area is the clubhouse. There's some parking right here. You recently looked at a lot right here that had a very similar product, maybe about a month or so ago. The lagoon is over here, and Phase 5 is kind of in this general area, which you've also approved previously. So the area outlined in red is PDR. It's residential. And if you look at Phase 5 overall, it's these 2 lots right here that we're looking at tonight. This is a look at the Civic Space. Just wanted to provide this so you kind of have an update of what the Civic Space is looking like in the resort area, the area kind of immediately around the lagoon and the clubhouse. They've provided these numbers that show that they are not only meeting, but they're exceeding their requirement for 5% civic space in the resort area. So you can see what it is without the lagoon and with the lagoon. With the lagoon, we're looking at about 39%. If you take that out, it's about 17. So just wanted to kind of give you an update of where we're at with civic space in that area. This is the site right here. Again, there will be 2 buildings and 20 units. They are proposing 2 parking spaces for every dwelling unit, and then they have some. I don't think it shows on this site plan, but right here on the street, they also have some additional parking, which is allowed in the Desert Color by the Desert Color Zone Plan to have parking on the street. That's not typical, but it is allowed in Desert Color. Taking a look at the elevations, these are the buildings that are being requested. Let's see. Sorry, I thought I had this right here. Well, I won't look for it. Oh, here we go. Approximately 37 to the highest point, 37 feet to the highest point of the building, so 3 stories. They're also proposing some rooftop amenity space. So like those other ones you saw about a month ago, they will provide some amenity space on the roof. You can see that here in this landscape plan. So it's just a place to kind of lounge and enjoy the sun.
Dan, can I ask you a question about that?
Please.
I noticed, maybe I was misreading it, said something about the Planning Commission wanting to buffer
to screen.
that or
I think
screen
they wanted
it
to
or
kind
something?
yeah, they kind of wanted to screen that a little bit. They did that on the other one as well, just to kind of provide a little bit more, just screening for the residents that would use it.
Oh, so it's okay. I was
Yeah.
a little confused.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. I don't think you'll actually be able to see much from the street if you're looking up, you know. So if you don't feel like that's necessary, I'm sure the applicant wouldn't. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's kind of the point of having a rooftop garden is that you can
Right.
see out.
Yeah.
And the location of these is not so close to the elevated roadways there that you'd be able to see the rooftop.
No, I don't think so.
I wouldn't think so, but I'm just curious if that was your opinion too.
I don't think you'd be able to see up top there. You'd have to be a ways out to be able to see up on top of the roof. So.
That was the only thing that caught my eye, and I just didn't really think that it seemed necessary, but I can see what the rest of the council thinks.
Would it be wrong to say that the nets will block the view, or should I not say that?
I mean, I wouldn't say that,
Okay.
probably.
All right.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Too soon, okay.
And then this is a look at the landscape plan for the site. So that's the request. The Planning Commission did hear it, recommended approval, a couple of conditions. If you want to pull that condition, you don't feel it's necessary, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to keep it in, it's in there already. So.
Did you want to say anything, Bob? Okay.
Well, Bob, I kind of want to hear what you have to say about the screening.
Bob Hermanson. Appreciate the comment. So the screening item is actually about Auburn Hills. There's a leg of Auburn Hills that's elevated about 40 feet over the resort, just along the south side. And so there's about 4 houses there. If you were standing, you'd have to be standing right out on the wall, right on the ridge line there where the retaining wall is and the privacy wall is. If you were standing right there, you could look down and see the top of these buildings. It would still be below because they're 40 plus the road height, and then it steps up. So those houses are still going to be probably 15-ish feet higher than from that proposed pad to the top of these roofs. And so you could
Yeah, could you go back to where it shows what's on the roof?
Yeah, and so
There.
Let's see, was this the best version? Let's see here.
So you're screening the people on the roof from the
Yes.
other neighbors.
Oh.
Yeah, so
might be preferred.
looking down, right, so this is a nightly rental product type, right? So you'd have
I see.
different people in here. We presume at least half of them would be.
Oh, okay. I was confused by
And so that was the comment, was you're going to have a local resident that's living there full time, looking potentially down here, and so we were thinking that the screening for this and then this vegetation, and then they did, the thought was here in the discussion to add a 3-foot parapet wall just along this edge to further seclude this, even though that it's already in that height already. But the thought was to add that, and then also we were going to work with staff that if it would thought to be necessary to maybe double the density on this lattice on the roof side, so you couldn't really make out like really what was there. But it was just a general comment, and that was our thought process. We don't feel as Desert Color that it's going to be an issue. But happy as usual to talk it out with staff and work it out.
Okay. I mean, I guess in my opinion, if you're not worried about it, I mean, you're the designer, and I think the design looks great with the mitigation that you already created.
We're talking about, these future units right here on the end. I'm sorry if we can, there it goes. Yes, which aren't built yet. So wait a minute. Why is this? There she goes. Okay. So this is the subject site, and these units are not built yet. We've only built to here. So once this is constructed after the bridge, and we get these things rolling here, in the future, this unit really is the only unit that's really going to have any chance. Honestly, this unit, like I said, if you stood right there on the corner and you were literally just standing there, otherwise there would be no chance because of the walls and the angles. It would just, I think it's going to be impossible. But this unit and potentially that unit, so that's why I'm calling it 3, worst case scenario, might be able to see something.
So Bob, that unit on the end of the cul-de-sac that you just pointed to right there, yes?
This one, yep.
The building pad there is approximately how many feet from the building?
So you're probably, this is 100, so
250
So
at
this is
least
a
to the
binoculars
edge,
issue.
at least to the edge, and that would be from the back of the lot plus where the house is, and so you're 250, 275 just to the front, the one edge of the building. So it's a ways.
Or a telescope.
But you don't think for the benefit of the residents of this project that it's needed? Just so they feel like they have some privacy?
We
For,
think
that's
that
what for your short-term rental project.
Yeah, your
we're
short-term rental.
We're thinking that this is more than adequate given the distance and the location of it. Yeah, and so now, what Dan mentioned earlier, I think that in my opinion, I would be more looking at the other building because it's probably around 190 feet-ish, and the exposure line is going to be a little bit different. Let's go back to that line, and I know we're not discussing that tonight, but here you're going to have 3 directly plus these 2 that would be looking on this. I think personally that the screening comment is really on this. If I was going to want to double screen, if you will, from what the other one is, I would be more inclined to put it here. Personally, I think what's been provided is good here. This is what how I feel about it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Council, I'm ready for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve an ordinance amending the Desert Color Plan Development Commercial Zone. Am I on the right one?
Yep.
2 condominium buildings to be known as Desert Color Phase 5, lots 514 and 515 on approximately 0.61 acres located between Akoya Pearl Road and Lagoon Parkway, northwest of the Desert Color Clubhouse. Do we need to be more specific in terms of the screening? With that explanation...
There were other planning commission recommendations, though. So,
Okay.
so it sounds like you want all of them except for the screening.
Right.
The question that I have to clarify, Dan, is the proposal that was shown here, up here to the council, is that without the additional screening that the planning commission recommended?
Right.
So you could say as presented, the screening as presented.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable with that as presented. So I would add that to my motion.
So with the recommendations of the planning commission, except for the screening, and you recommend approval with the screening as presented tonight.
Correct. Thank you.
Second.
Didn't confuse you.
I got it all.
Motion by Vardell. Who seconded it?
Second.
Second by Jimmy. All in favor, starting with Vardell.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Now, item number 14.
Item number 14 is consider approval of the preliminary plat for the Cove at Desert Color Lot 514, 515, a 20-lot residential subdivision located within the Desert Color development along Lagoon Parkway.
Oh, you're good. Let's see. Okay, so Sean said this is, and it's the same one Dan just presented to you, just how they're going to divide it up. So basically, they'll take these 4 buildings and create 20 units within those buildings. They'll be privately owned, obviously, each unit, and then parking area would be common area to the development. So that's how it'll be platted when it's recorded.
You have any comments? Motion to approve the preliminary plat for the Cove at Desert Color.
Second. Oh, sorry.
That's good.
You usually do really fast motions, Jimmy. So
I just decided to add that on there just to mess you up.
Motion by Jimmy, seconded by Danielle. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so we're back to item number 8.
Yep.
Consider approval of an ordinance amending the Tonoquint Center Plan Development Commercial Zone for a new Maverick convenience store and gas station to be known as Dixie Drive Maverick on approximately 2.57 acres located on the southeast corner of 1600 South and Dixie Drive.
Mouse is being finicky. Okay.
Did you put that picture up there, Dan?
I did. I think you said last time that we need to step our game up.
I'm impressed. I'm
my game up.
impressed.
All right. So this is the Dixie Drive Maverick. If this looks familiar to you, it's because you saw it last year. This came before you, a request for a Maverick, and was actually denied, and a year and a half has passed, and they've made some changes. They're proposing a couple of things that might mitigate some of the concerns that the council had last time around. And so I'll go through those with you. We've got some conditions, just want to make sure those are clear. But we'll go through this site plan with you as well, and just see if you have any questions. So this is the site, 1600 South and Dixie Drive. You see the cemetery right next door. I know what's going on with this mouse. There we go. Zoning is PDC. So it's commercial, it's Tonoquint zoning, PD. And, well, use keyboard. This is a look at the site plan. You can see the store kind of in the center of the site. You can also see that one thing that's changed, I can't point, sorry. But one thing that's changed on here is this. Thought maybe I could use this. Sorry, wish I could point. Oh, here we go. Nope. Okay, right here. This area is, they came in for a preliminary plat a little while ago, and they split this into a lot. Now, that hasn't finalized. It still needs to go through the final plat stage. But the intent is to create this lot, this kind of long, skinny lot, and then have this lot be the Maverick site. So that's one thing. And how that'll play in, I'll show you here in just a second. You can see the canopy here for the gas, and then the store right in here with the parking around it. This is a look at the kind of proposed landscaping. You can see this kind of buffer here. That is actually a berm, 10 feet tall, approximately 40 feet wide. That is to shelter the site, the proposed Maverick site, to the cemetery, which was really one of the big sticking points last time around, was that are those two uses compatible? And at that time, the council felt that no, they weren't. But this berm is intended to help, and it would be fully landscaped. Of course, we'd have to go through the site planning stage and get a full-blown site plan, but the intent was that would be landscaped fully, 10 feet tall, 40 feet wide, and really kind of shield that. Now, one thing that the Parks Department looked at this, and one of their concerns was that this is just a long, kind of engineered-looking berm, right, and not very interesting or pretty. So one of the suggestions is that at the site plan stage, we would go through it, and it would be a little more, be smoothed over, maybe some hills, things like that, to kind of smooth that over so it's not just this long kind of utilitarian sort of berm.
So have the Parks Department help with all that?
Yes, yeah. So that's the idea for that, to give that kind of shielding. This is the building. You can see that they've really minimized their signage. The Maverick building itself looks like a Maverick building. I mean, that's what they look like. They're not proposing really any changes to the building itself. But where they are proposing some changes is to the canopy. They're proposing some muted colors, this kind of tan color. No signage on the canopy itself. They would also have lighting that would be censored. And so after so many minutes of inactivity, the lights would dim. And
Dan, I have a question about that. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's right next to all these major roads. So did they explain how those work?
I don't know. The applicant is here, and he may be able to.
Okay, because I was thinking, it'll just keep going off. I'm not sure it would ever dim.
Yeah, well, if you'd like, he can come up here.
Okay.
And you could probably go to almost any parking garage at a major casino in Vegas now and see how they work too, because they have the lights on. Obviously, they need to in Vegas, right? But as you walk to your car, then the lights click on, the brighter lights click on as you're walking, and then they'll go off.
Go getting some new batteries. So that's the canopy. That's another thing that they're proposing to do to kind of soften the site. Thank you. Look at that. They're proposing this sign, 15-foot monument sign, that would be placed up here, closer to the intersection, so that it's farther away from the cemetery. And then these are the materials. They're typical of what they put on a modern Maverick, not like the older Mavericks, but like the new ones that you see going up. And then just for a piece of clarification, there's some question as to whether this street was public or private. We've done extensive research, and it appears that it is public. So there were some concerns from some of the property owners to the north as to whether that was private, and several ALTA surveys and title work has been done, and it's been determined that is a public street. So I just wanted to make sure that that's clear as well. So I just want to make sure that these conditions are clear. So I'll go through these. I'll try to go quickly. So that a berm is constructed between the cemetery and the subject property, and that the applicant works with the city to address the comments from the Parks Department. That's kind of making the berm look pretty. That the canopy colors are muted, as shown in the exhibit, shown on the drawings attached here. That the applicant leaves the trees in the right-of-way on the corner of 1600 South and Dixie Drive. So let me just show you those. That's this one, and then there's a couple of other ones that are here. But particularly those ones that are in the right-of-way, right there, those two. That a site plan and building permit is approved prior to construction. That a monument sign is approved as presented. That if the city doesn't purchase the property adjacent to the cemetery, that the applicant will landscape to the property line. So that's something that the Planning Commission asked for. So just to make sure that if, for whatever reason, that property didn't get purchased, that it would still get landscaped. And that the use fuel sales is added to the use list. No signage is added to the canopy. There will be lower impact lighting around the perimeter, specifically adjacent to the cemetery. And that the lot line split is finalized and the city is closed on the property. I think that's it. Was there anything else, Sean, that I'm missing?
Yeah, and while the applicant, if the applicant would like to say anything, while the applicant's coming up, I would like to say a couple of things. If you recall, this was from our very first Zoom meeting. So this is how long ago this first proposed Maverick came up. I've worked throughout my years here with Mavericks because we have probably more Mavericks per capita than any other place on earth, and they have been great to work with. We have had several sites where there have been some disagreements or some concessions that we've wanted, some things that they've wanted, and we've always been able to work them out. And so compliments to them and their team to be very good to work with. This site was obviously a very sensitive site, and the council had concerns. Under our current ordinance that applies to the site, they would not have been able to do the gas sales. So sitting down and working with them, working for some berming that would work. I will also point out that the 10-foot berm that was proposed was actually our request. And so today was the first time I'd heard that Parks had varied that and wanted some changes. But if you're all good with how they want to do that, if Shane is, because Shane Moore was the one that we met with on site to say we wanted the same berm along Dixie Drive, that same type of thing for the cemetery because it blocks the sound and the light and everything else so well for the cemetery. It does such a good job. And so I'm hoping that Parks is working with Shane Moore to make sure that they understand that it's a sound barrier and a visual barrier that we're looking forward to having there. And then also the landscaping, and they've agreed to do the enhanced landscaping along with Parks. We're splitting that berm as far as ownership goes, and I think it'll look very beautiful for Maverick and for the cemetery. And then I'd like to thank the property owner, Randy Simonson, for working with us on that. And we were able to come to a good deal that I think works for everyone. And so thank you very much for your patience in working this through. But in the end, what we have is something that I think works out to be a benefit, because we have another place for me to get my ices, and I get one every day on the way home from work. And we have some more spots at the cemetery, and as you know, that cemetery is filling up quite quickly. And and with the roadway, being able to bring it through, Jimmy will appreciate this more than anyone. It's the perfect distance for carrying the caskets to those sites, and also allows us to do that interior road. And as we showed you, in the end, we think we can close that roadway that's kind of a death trap over at the other end that doesn't have the signal because of the curve on Dixie Drive makes it difficult. Now we can have entrances on both ends that have exits to signalized intersections. So thank you. We really appreciate your working with us on this. And so this will be conditioned on us getting that property purchase finalized, because we're doing a lot split there. And that's all I'll say is thank you to both parties on this. I think it's worked out well.
Well, I'm going to miss Attorney Guzman more than you guys now. Rich Piggott with Maverick, living 198 South State Street in Salt Lake City, Utah. Just glad to be bringing another Maverick to St. George and to the Washington County area. We love working down here. I want to especially thank Dan Bowles for working with us, and also the landowner. We're glad that this site can come forward to you again. As regarding to the lighting underneath the canopy, there'll be a series of either motion sensors or timers in addition to dimmable lights underneath the canopy. We've worked with our photometrics to make sure that can become adequate. The only concerns we have late at night, of course, is our employee security, so lighting around the trash dumpster and around the front of the building is where we're most worried about during the late nights. But other than that, we'll put those on timers and dimmers so that we can make sure that we are adequate and not polluting the light across the cemetery. And part of that berming too is also to catch the headlights. We don't want headlights coming across the gravestones at night. That's out of pure respect. So usually that's covered at about 3 feet. The 10 feet is just to help screen the building itself and the canopy itself. Other than that, we're happy with the conditions and are looking forward to putting this building into the St. George City.
Thank you. Any questions?
Is there a decel lane on Dixie Drive as far as accessing either 1600 South or into this new commercial?
I don't think so at this time. I think that's just a standard lane.
I thought there was.
Is there?
Yeah.
There is a decel lane.
Right.
Coming from there.
Yes, coming from the cemetery area. So I would say heading north, kind of. There's a decel lane right there. So
my recollection was that there was. I just wasn't sure how far down that extended.
It goes right to where their first driveway is going. It starts right about where their first driveway is going to be.
Okay.
Yes, so they
So
have
to
a
Bardell's
decel
point,
lane.
will they-
They have a decel lane coming off of that first access, and then they have another lane right there to turn onto Dixie, or turn onto 1600. One condition we did have, and I forgot to tell Dan about that, when this came to PSR, this doesn't meet our access management policy for a full access. So when it came to PSR, we discussed leaving it as a right-in, and then this would become the full access, just because this doesn't meet our access management.
And there won't be very many left turn maneuvers there anyway, because it'll just be people coming from out of the cemetery and from those adjacent, from Riverwoods and from the other office buildings. So there's probably not going to be a problem with that.
Any other questions?
I would echo what Sean says. Thank you for working with us on that. As one that was kind of a stick in the mud on this and had some concerns, so I appreciate that. And I really hope we will visit shutting that other entrance down, the main entrance right now. I think Brad, I've talked to him about that, the cemetery section, and Shane both would agree. If you ever want to rush, come and go with me, and we'll pull out on that road and turn left in the hearse. It's super cool because you almost become your own client every time. So yeah, we need to do that. Plus, it'll open up some more area. We can put some plots.
Actually,
which we know are selling like
it
wildfire.
will. Actually, yeah.
So, and thank you, really. Thank you for both the owner and the applicant for working with us on that. I think it's going to be good. So I'll go ahead and make a motion if
All right.
you want to approve the ordinance amending the Tonoquint Center Plan Development Commercial Zone for the new Maverick convenience store and gas sales, to be known as the Dixie Drive Maverick.
With the conditions as presented?
Yes, as presented.
Including the ride-in, ride-out for that first entrance?
Yes.
And then that the closing on the sale of the remainder of the property in that, on that current plat to the city?
Certainly.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, seconded by Brian. All in favor, starting with Vardell.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, Mayor, we're on item number 9. Consider an ordinance changing the zone from R110 single-family residential to PDR on approximately 5.1 acres located south of Southern Parkway and west of Desert Canyons Parkway, to be known as Desert Canyons Townhomes.
Okay, so here's an aerial view of the proposed piece. You can see Southern Parkway here to the north. The general plan designation is residential. And the zoning map, as was mentioned, is R110. Here's the proposed site plan with a mix of 4 and 2 unit townhomes. And a picture of the elevations. And of course, it is part of the Desert Canyons overall master plan. And on this map, this little blue piece down here in the left-hand corner is where the proposed site is. With that, I can answer any questions, or I think the applicant's here also.
Questions for Mike or the applicant? None? No questions? Then I'm ready for a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the zone from R110 to PDR on approximately 5.1 acres located south of the Southern Parkway and west of Desert Canyons Park, known as Desert Canyon Townhomes.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, seconded by Vardell. All in favor, starting with Danielle.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Item number 10 is consider approval of an ordinance changing the zone from R110 single-family residential to open space on approximately 14.06 acres located approximately 4,000 south, 2,900 east, to be known as Bandit Hills Open Space.
Again, here's an aerial view of the proposed piece. As you can see here, it's an unbuildable piece of property. And the general plan designation is open space. And as was mentioned, the zoning map is R110. With that, I can answer any questions.
I'll make a comment. Matches the general plan. It's open space. It's unbuildable. I make a motion. I could move to a motion if that's acceptable.
Go right ahead.
I'll make a motion that we approve an ordinance changing the zone from R110 to open space on this particular area.
Second.
Motion by Greg, seconded by Brian. All in favor, starting with Bardell.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
And as we noted earlier, 11 and 12 were removed from the agenda. So the next item is number 13, consider approval of a conditional use permit for the short-term rental of a local landmark known as the, I want to say CV, so am I right?
CV.
CV Home on approximately 0.15 acres located at 274 South, 200 West Street.
Okay, thank you. All right, so just a general location map right here in the red square is the location. Okay, so in September 2nd, this was approved as a local landmark, and now the applicant would like to turn this into a short-term rental. And there are 5 conditions to do this, and I'll just go over all 5 of them. The first one is to make sure that the impact is low. For this, the applicant has stated that the home itself is 1,380 square feet, which might seem like a mansion to some, but it's not overly huge for short-term rentals. And she is going to restrict the maximum number of people that can rent the unit at a time to 4, with only 2 vehicles allowed. Number two, that there is a substantial investment made to the property, and the applicant has made quite a bit of upgrades. They did spend a lot of money on shoring up the foundation. There were some remodels that were done, probably not to code, and so they did have to do some reinforcements on the interior and the exterior, and then she has redone the entire interior of the home, as well as added in substantial landscaping features. The third condition is that renovations maintains historic features. The renovations have already been done. We did talk about this when this was nominated as a local landmark, that the front porch was added, and then there was an addition added in the rear with a dormer window that changed the exterior. So those were the two. And then the fourth condition, minimal traffic or parking demand. We already talked about only two vehicles being allowed. And so looking at the off-street parking, the applicant does have off-street parking available. It doesn't meet standards now. So the only thing that staff recommended and Planning Commission recommended as well is that the property be brought up to code. So 2 parking places, one of them covered. And those are the conditions that the Planning Commission put on. And then the fifth is any additional conditions that you'd like to put on, you're certainly welcome to. There's what the Planning Commission recommended. As I mentioned, these are already meeting. This would be required anyways because it has to meet code, but they just verbally added those as the conditions for the 2 parking spots. So any questions? And the applicant's here too if you have questions for them.
So Carol, currently it's not paved, you're saying?
Yeah, it's gravel.
Okay, so the recommendation would be to pave it and have one covered
yeah.
spot.
And
Okay.
we do allow concrete, asphalt, or pavers, and I believe she's going to do pavers. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I make a motion to approve the use permit for the short-term rental of a local landmark known as the CV Home on approximately 0.15 acres located at 274 South, 200 West Street.
Would that be with the conditions as presented?
Yes.
So we're requiring paved, yeah.
Second.
Motion by Brian, seconded by Jimmy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, can I just say, I know the owner's here. I thought it was great that her neighbors, sent us letters saying how much they appreciate her and how they feel like she'll do a great job managing the home. And I really appreciate people who are willing to save. That's an older home. They do cost so much money to keep up. And so I appreciate Cimarron putting all of the effort into keeping it up. And if you haven't seen it, it's a really cute house. And she's done a great job making it a great part of the neighborhood.
I just want to know, Cimarron, are you planning on, because you presented it with snow, so are you going to guarantee, do you have snowmaking equipment, or is that just...
My neighbor, we didn't live there, and my neighbor gave me, that's the oldest picture that he had, and that he knew of, the only time it snowed in Arkansas last year.
It is probably the last time we're going to see it snow for a while, right?
Probably.
We hope not.
All righty. So we already did 14 and 15.
That's right,
So
We're down
any
to reports.
Reports. Danielle, got anything?
I do not. Other than we're missing the chamber 30, what was it, 30 under 30 or 30
Yeah.
in their 30s? I think
Something
it might have been
like
30
that.
in their 30s tonight. So I just wanted to congratulate all of them. I think it's really cool, the chamber's recognizing some of our local young professionals. And if you look through that list of young professionals that they chose, it was just really neat. So I'm glad to see that we have so many great young business people in our community.
Jimmy? Brian?
We overseeded the golf courses, and they are looking fantastic. They did a great job with the minimal staff and seating that they had to use, so they did a fantastic job. Also, Sean, I want to tell you good luck, and You're a great friend, and I know Joe would want me to tell you it was a pleasure. And thank you for being a friend. Thank you.
Thank you. And Joe, I love you.
And I was going to tell Suzanne, do we still get to have poker night?
You can't. Thursday nights.
Speaking of golf, I'm not a golfer, but I did get a complaint. And since you golf, have you golfed Sunbrook lately? I know you golf them all.
I have.
Okay, I heard the sand traps aren't great.
No, they're not. We're working on
You're working on them?
We're working.
Okay, as long as you know that.
Stay out of the sand trap.
Stay out of the sand trap. Right?
Well, apparently this person is in the sand trap, and they don't like all the rocks in there.
Yeah, they're working on that.
Okay. Greg, anything?
No reports. I'll just echo that. Sean, we'll miss seeing you on Thursday nights. You're awesome. And Tani, we'll look forward to seeing you. So that's all I got.
Brian and I had the opportunity to meet with Shane Moore and Mark Mortensen was there and several others from the soccer promoting committees or community. And I thought it was a very productive meeting. They had obviously concerns on scheduling and fees and everything else. I think that's why Brian asked specifically on the motion action that we took tonight if it included anything in addition to baseball and softball, and it did not. But it was still a great meeting, and I appreciated the fact that they were willing to come to the table and listen. And I will tell you, Shane Moore did an amazing job in explaining to them exactly what these amenities are and how we take care of them and why they are what they are. So it was a good meeting. I'm not sure where it'll end up, but it was a good meeting, and I think it's going to be very beneficial for everybody included.
Good. I'm glad you were both there. Just a couple of announcements. So there's been 2 printed editions that had the mayor's message in them that are totally wrong now because I know. It talks about the Gold Star Families Memorial Monument dedication Wednesday the 10th at noon. And as most of you know, our Gold Star Memorial Monument is on a shipping container somewhere between India and the U.S. So that won't be happening. So we have met and changed that date to March 26th after the legislative session so that hopefully the governor can attend and our local legislators can attend. So, and David was going to make a social media post on that today because I'm like, get that word out. Yeah. So wasn't our fault, shipping container. And then next Wednesday, next Wednesday the 10th, they will canvass the election at 4 o'clock. We won't be having city council Thursday because of Veterans Day, and the program at Sun River is at 9 a.m. on Veterans Day on Thursday. So you'll have Thursday off to go play poker with Sean.
There you go.
So that's all I've got. So
Could I add one more thing to golf that I would just like to get on the record? Years ago, there was a billboard. I don't want to say dispute, but we had a disagreement over placement of a billboard that happened to be erroneously on city property. It had been there for many years. And was able to work out a deal with Dewey Reagan, actually with Dewey, owner of Reagan Sign Companies. Wasn't able to get anywhere at the staff, but Dewey agreed to sit down and we worked it out, and that's the billboard that is now located by Dixie Diesel, that smaller billboard there. That's where we relocated it to. But part of that agreement was that he would give us a couple of billboard ads up in Salt Lake to advertise a city event. That's probably been about 10 years ago. Now, on our side, we dropped the ball on getting back to him, but Dewey and I were having lunch one day down here when we needed to talk about some billboard issues, and I brought that up, and he said, Sean, we'll make it right. Well, he's more than made it right. He's made several billboards available to us along the Wasatch Front, and that is, his billboards go from Payson all the way up to Ogden, and he's worked with our golf staff, and they designed some good advertisements to go on those billboards. And some of them static billboards he recommended because then they're there all the time and you can see them. And just wanted to say thank you to Dewey Reagan for doing that and going above and beyond. And he personally made sure that it got taken care of. So this winter, we will be advertising St. George Golf for the spring and telling people to come down. And it's compliments of Reagan billboard, Reagan Outdoor Advertising. So thank you to Dewey Reagan for that.
You might have a harder time getting on now.
Just to golf, not to stay. Right?
Just to golf. I'm ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Danielle, seconded by Brian. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. Good night.